All right, all right. Good evening.
How we doing?
We're doing. We're doing. We're down. We're down a couple of our staff members. They got the night off.
Busy week for them.
Busy week. But actually, I just found out that they both have the night off, and they're sitting in the dugout suite in baseball town, enjoying some baseball. Compliments of the Reading Fighting Phils giving their employees a night off.
Wow.
So.
Very cool.
Yeah. Food and drink. How about that, huh?
Wow.
Food and drink, night off, no pressure, just enjoy the game. And while we're talking about baseball town, and I don't want to get off of my introduction and all that fun stuff, but our good pal Carlos de la Cruz now plays for the AA Harrisburg Senators, who are in town.
Oh, nice.
I meant to send you the picture so that you could post them tonight.
Yeah.
But I forgot. But he was talking to Anthony last night. So.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. So anyway, that's where Lauren and Anthony are. So you're stuck with us. John and I are going to try to carry this till about 7 o'clock. And then Bay Ragney, the infamous Chubby Dudley, will join us around 7 o'clock. Big things happening this week in Philly with the wrestling, the old TWA wrestling at the old arena in South Philadelphia. So, yeah. So anyway, we are we're working towards show number 300, which will be May 14th at Buffalo Wild Wings.
Yes.
We have got a phenomenal show in store for then. Right now, we're working on our 7th guest for that evening. So it's going to be a fun night. Fun night, all the money, all the proceeds, every dollar we can get donated will go towards the Darren Dalton Foundation. We're working with the president, so it doesn't get any higher than that, Brent Datto. So we've got some interesting names, and they're all they either played with Dutch, they know Dutch through baseball. It's going to be a fun night. So we're Johnny thought if we could get 5 or 6, we'd be doing a good thing. Well, we're already at 6, working on our 7th.
Yeah.
And we've got a couple other guys, that owe us a response. So we could have upwards of 8 guests that night. So it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be hosted by none other than Dan Baker. 50 years of Phillies baseball behind the mic of This Fan's View. So I know John and I are pretty excited about that. It's our show number 300. We're really excited. So tomorrow's May 1st. So we're only a couple weeks away from pulling this off. So we're super excited. We've got our normal show sponsor, presenting sponsor, City Distilling, behind us. We're going to have some unbelievable raffle prizes. John and I were going through the archives the other day, and we pulled out some really cool Darren Dalton autograph things.
Yeah.
And not just little trading cards. We've got some really nice stuff. So we're going to have probably as many raffle prizes as we do guests. So if we have 8 to 10 guests, we're going to have 8 to 10 raffle prizes, and half of them are going to be Darren Dalton autographed items with some other guys.
Yeah.
So, I know you're excited about it, John, because this has been in the makings now for a little bit. We kind of been kicking it around, and we just decided what better time to do it for our 300 show, right?
Exactly. And that 93 team is special, for me, for everybody here in Philadelphia, really. I mean, but, for me, it was a I was in college, graduating college at that point, so we had to deal with the all the people up, back then rooting for Pittsburgh and stuff up at college at Penn State, and and the Phillies were able to have a
it's a
hell of a
50-50
year there.
town up there, right? It's,
Right. Oh yeah.
Pittsburgh, Philly, right?
Exactly.
Eagles, Steelers, Penguins, Flyers.
Yeah. It seems, according to the boys now, it's all Philadelphia now. I wonder why.
Yeah, go figure, right?
But yeah, I mean, it was always cool to be able to have that summer, be able to go to a lot of those games. Was there, when Mitch Williams struck out I think it was Pacoda is his name, if I had it right, the righty from the Mets or the Braves, to send us into the World Series, and and then be there through all those World Series games. So yeah, there was a lot of great memories through that team. And
yeah, it's a shame Mitch has, from what I understand, I guess he's back home in Texas now.
Right.
He's not part of much of what goes on in Philly.
Yeah.
But there's plenty of other teammates. I did the past couple down in Clearwater with the foundation, and just absolutely awesome. And we did a small, sample size of an event last year, and sent a check to the foundation. But this year we're looking to blow this thing wide open for our 300th show.
Right.
Hard to believe this fans view 300
Yeah.
shows. Hard
Exactly.
to believe. To believe that a couple of knuckleheads could pull this off.
Oh yeah, that's for sure.
But we got Lauren on board to keep us straight. Anthony kind of reels us in as well. When we start complaining about our Phillies, he complains about his Pirates, and that just about sums it up. So
exactly.
But really looking forward to it. We're hoping. I think the capacity for Buffalo Wild Wings in Glen Mills is like 200 people.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping to fill the joint. People come out, support the show, support the foundation, have fun. They've got great beer and drink specials. They have all you can eat wings Monday to Thursday for $20.
Wow.
Wings and fries, all you can eat for $20.
Yeah.
So, so it's going to be a lot of fun. Really looking forward to it. Yeah. So, Joe Stinger, you told me the last time we talked, you were coming up. Have you set any dates yet? I'm just curious. And as always, thanks for your support. You're always right there, with the show. You've been with me forever and ever and ever at Carl's Cards, and we appreciate that. Johnny, why don't you hit up the baseball fantasy and bring everybody up to date on that before we get started?
Yeah, I know. My mom's probably yelling at you to be quiet so she can see your name up on the leaderboard. So
Mama O'Brien.
Oh yeah, she got on me this week too, because we were over there over the weekend, and she was mad because she was trying to figure out how the scoring goes, and she thought she was getting ripped off because maybe some of her guys weren't playing as many games as everybody else. But so there was a little logistics going on with her.
So she's sitting in fifth place, huh?
Yeah, she's sitting there in fifth place, and she's still complaining. But
wow, look at her.
Yeah, so
look at her.
I'll get rid of that so we can see everybody on the list there. we got Chris Lambert's there. He's beating his son now, so he's happy right at the moment. Jonathan fell off the board. Scotty Black's up there. Lauren Anthony's up there. We got Jason jumped up there into the 2 spot. James McAllar, he's still taking the lead. And so yeah, it's going well.
Good.
So yeah, we've had a lot of success with this so far, and it's nice to see. So
all right,
let me get rid of this here.
Keep up the good work, everybody.
Yeah.
Joe Stinger's coming to town in July. My birthday's the 27th, so maybe we can hang out and eat birthday cake in July there, Joe.
Just saying.
Yeah, you know, I'm dialing in on the big 6'9".
There you go.
You only get one shot at this, so you got to do it
true.
right. Got to
That
do
is
it
true.
right. John, you just had a birthday the other day, didn't you?
I did last week. Yeah. 53.
All right. 53.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, 53. I'd love to be 53 again.
Uh-huh.
All right. These Phillies are making me age a lot quicker, so
Yeah.
I'm not happy. So they're giving me I have to get a haircut every week to get rid of all this gray hair they're giving me.
Yeah, they gave you a good one yesterday.
Yeah. Even the manager said we were lucky to pull that one off.
Yeah, which is rare for him to come out and say something like that. So
yes, it is.
You know, it's which I mean, it's this team's got a lot of holes. You know, and we got into a heated argument this morning, a discussion, I should say. About it. I mean, there's just a lot, and a lot of blame to go around for everybody, for sure. But it's a matter of, where you put that blame, is where some of the disagreements may come from. But I mean, there's a lot to go around for sure.
Yeah, for sure. We started off with the Eagles, not to fade away from the Phillies, but we want to talk a little draft. And the Eagles started out last season 2-2, and then then things kind of really fell into place, and we see how that all ended, right?
Oh yeah, I mean it's not how you start. I mean, because just look at this time last year, we were on a roll. Everybody thought the Phillies were going to win 120 games, win the World Series, and then we saw how that ended up afterwards. It's just just one of those things. You just got to. It's a long season for baseball, and hopefully they just kind of like football. Hopefully they get the kinks out of the way now, and it all depends on how you're playing in October. It doesn't matter, at this point, you got to survive, to get there. Like we were talking about, there's a lot of teams playing well right at the moment that, could they be out of the playoffs if you look at it today? Yes, the way the standings are laid out there. But, I think overall this team's going to level itself back out, and you'll see them do what we're expecting them to do, and then it comes to October. Like we always keep saying, it's how you're playing at that time, and the pitching's going to be well. I think the starting pitching's not going to be an issue unless you get some injuries there. But you got enough pitching there to cover up for an injury or two. In a starting rotation, but that bullpen, that's another problem.
Well, tonight's going to be interesting after Christopher Sanchez left his last outing after less than 3 innings.
Right. Yeah. In the second inning there,
I think they're curious to see what he has tonight, to see where he's at coming back from that. So
yeah,
we'll keep our fingers crossed, because he's a young and upcoming star for the Phillies, just as Ranger Suarez is. You know what I mean?
Right.
I want to see the old Ranger. I want to see that Ranger that comes out of the bullpen. He starts, he finishes, he wherever you put him, he'll pitch.
Yeah.
So that's the Ranger I want to see. From a couple of years ago. He can, he's your super utility guy, on the staff in the bullpen. So I'm really anxious to see what he has. So,
oh yeah, absolutely.
But with all that being said, the Eagles held their draft this past weekend. Apparently, everybody in football is giving the Eagles a B plus, a high rating on their draft. John, you and I didn't talk a whole lot about it because we've been bickering too much about these goddamn Phillies.
Right.
But, I think the thing that we agree on, they're both driving us crazy. And what did you make of the 10 new players that they've added to the team?
I like what they've done. Personally, I mean, it's hard to say, whether or not it's an A grade or what, but A, B, whatever kind of grade you're going to give it. But, Jahad Campbell kind of dropped to him, at 31. People have said he's, a 10, 12 rate, spot guy if he was healthy, which is, again, the Eagles way. They let guys fall, and they have some kind of magical cure to get guys healthy that fall down that way. And he had a right shoulder surgery that he's recovering from now, and they think his left shoulder is going to need to get done after this season, and he's got a knee issue as well. That teams think that could be an issue. Whether it's hurt now, I don't believe, but they think it could be a degenerated knee injury type of thing that they have to be concerned about, and that's why he kind of fell. But coming out of Alabama, it's a nice linebacker to get. He's got some good size to him. So you would think he should be able to do well there, and getting that safety in the second round out of Texas, is nice. Again, pulling from these top teams in college football that you're getting players from, and a spot that we need to be able to go out there and give Sidney Brown a chance or a competition with that spot. And then in the fourth round, the defensive tackle I think might be a good spot. He's even got
in Nebraska.
Yeah, he's even got his nickname that he's got.
No.
Yeah, he's got a nickname. It's the Vanilla Gorilla.
Vanilla Gorilla.
Yeah. So he's already got a nickname, and he's a big guy, and if he could be part of the rotation, and they just extended Jordan Davis today for his 5th-year option, picking that up. So you got him locked up for 2 more years, and along with Jalen Carter and then this guy here, hopefully, you got a nice little rotation, with the Jomo that you may not be able to. You can help fill out some of the spots for losing Milton Williams.
Sure.
And they got 3 linebackers in the group too, because they got a linebacker from Georgia and another linebacker later in the draft. And then they, of course, pick up a couple offensive linemen and a center, 2 tackles and a center. So, it's nice to see. They got and because of the way they don't have a lot of immediate needs. Too much. Obviously a couple more on the defensive side is where they need the impact, and I think they filled some of those spots. So that's all you can ask for.
Yeah, and if anybody's going to, I know Jeff Stoutland gets a lot of credit with the offensive linemen. I don't think Vic Fangio gets enough credit with his defensive boys.
Right.
I think
exactly.
I think he, I think he's done an admirable job.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's going to continue. I know when we had him in the store, he said he was hoping that Bond would be back, and he is.
Yeah.
We're not used to all this attention at the linebacker spot. Howie never really paid it a whole lot of attention over the years.
Right.
This is the first linebacker that we've drafted since 1979.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that was one Jerry Robinson back in the day.
Yeah.
So apparently this Campbell kid can play everywhere. He's multi-talented, which is good. Which is good. In today's NFL, to have players like that.
Yeah.
That can flip side to side, drop back in coverage, rush the quarterback, just prevent a whole lot of havoc. So it's good. If he's healthy, it's a great pick.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely, and it also helps with the special teams, so that's where a lot of the linebackers play. So the only interesting part though is Nakobe Dean's recovering, and he's not going to be ready for the start of the season. But it's also interesting to see how what does this mean for how the Eagles look at Jeremiah Trotter Jr. Picking up all these extra guys after having him as a rookie last year. So
well, I mean, they're developing these guys, right?
Right. Oh yeah.
What's the theory amongst they get the rookie contract and if they don't get a second contract, then that pick automatically becomes a failure.
Yeah.
So I mean, you can't. He played sparingly, and I didn't think he played bad. You know what I mean?
Absolutely not. No.
He covered ground, and he was on special teams, and I think we got to give him more time. You know what I mean? I think we got to give him more time. What was he, a 5th, 6th pick last year?
Yeah, exactly, in the 5th or 6th round. So yeah, I mean, and I think that's what the Eagles expected out of it. As well as more of a special teams guy last year contributed. And
yep. I think because of the name,
right.
I think he's going to be given every opportunity, to do things with this team.
True.
So, and they got a lot of holes to fill. They need, they needed to get younger, and they did. Joe Stinger's asking about the tight end spot. Well, they didn't draft one.
No, exactly.
They didn't draft any, and as much talk as there's been about Dallas Goedert, I think, to be honest with you, I think they're working on a contract extension for the next, couple, 2-3 years.
Right.
Get that cap number down to where it's manageable, and hope that Dallas stays healthy because, I mean, you need them. You need them for pass blocking. You need them to roll out and catch that short stuff over the middle. And when Dallas is healthy, he's as good as there is. At the tight end position.
Oh, true. No, yeah, it's and they don't use the tight end a whole lot,
right.
Overall. So I think, like you said, it's just a matter of. I think if he was healthy for all the years that he's been here, this would be not a non-issue.
Right. Right.
But when he misses 3-4 games a year, and then wanting the big money on top of it. As you saw, George Kittle got paid pretty good, this past week, and so yeah, it's it'll be interesting to see. I think they tried trading them and they weren't able to get what they were hoping for, and
it's pretty bad when you can't get a 4th or 5th round pick for a proven NFL linebacker.
Yeah, exactly. And
but let me ask you this. Has that position been, what's the right word? Has it been kind of like diminished in the NFL these days because of, the way these wide receivers play and, running backs play? I mean, is the tight end as big a position as it once was?
No, I think it still does because there's a lot of good tight ends out there. Like I was talking with Darius Slay when he was here on Saturday, because I had asked him, how it was always, wasn't sure how Jalen Hurts, sees the middle of the field and that kind of stuff, and we had said, I had said something to him, about Jalen Hurts, seeing the middle of the field, and he gave me that little look like. What, you don't think he's smart enough or something? And I'm like, no. I said, not because of that. I said, because of how big the offensive line is, and we had Jordan Mailata coming in right after him, and we saw how big he was. And
yeah, he's had a problem getting the ball over the line at times.
Right. And does that affect the usage of over the middle, which hurts Dallas Goedert's, plans. So he's like, yeah, that does a little bit, has some to do with it, because of, Jalen's not as tall as some of the other quarterbacks in the league, and plus this offensive line is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, in football right now. So, a combination of Hurts and the offensive line that it kind of
it was funny it was funny, not to interrupt you, but last year when Dallas was out, due to injury, the
Calcaterra. Yeah, Calcaterra.
He seemed to get a few more touches than Dallas would get.
He did because the defense let him alone.
Right.
They didn't have to respect him as much, and like Slay was saying, it's a little harder for Jalen to anticipate those throws because of that offensive line, and he has to more see the guys open. And Calcaterra was wide open at times. I mean, there was times where there was nobody near him, and it was like one of the third, fourth options, and Hurts would get it to him. And
all right, well, we got OTAs this weekend for some of the veteran players and all the rookies this weekend get started. So that'll be, I guess, since they visited the White House the other day, that kind of put the finishing touches on Super Bowl 59.
Yes,
we can move on to Super Bowl 60.
Exactly.
I like that number 60. I just like that number 60. Chuck Bednarik, number 60. I like that number.
Yeah.
And
it was cool to see, talking with Jordan Mailata when he was here. He's focused on today. Like everybody kept saying, bring us another one. And he's like, we're just worried about today. Win in today, and we'll see where that takes us. One day at a time. And it was interesting because he was getting taking parts of the OTAs, and you were joking about going out and getting a beer or something. He's like, oh, I can't do that, and he wasn't even getting them with his friends, having a beer because it's already training for the new season. So it's good to see the guys focused and ready to do that.
I mean, there's a guy they took a shot at and developed him, since bringing him in from the rugby squad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And, he's developed. He's, he's as good as it gets on that O-line.
Absolutely.
And he was rewarded. He's got a nice little payday, and he's probably going to get another one eventually.
Yeah.
Good player, good spot, the O-line, just, continues to smash people. And we need the defense to continue to, their growth as well. So interesting. Brian Brown's birthday. Happy birthday, Brian Brown. You jump on and off the show. We appreciate that. Always good to have these Philly sports enthusiasts jump on our page and help us out. Whether we're right or wrong, we give you our opinion. You give us yours.
Yeah.
That's what we enjoy about Philly sports. So,
And the best part with Mailata, when he was here, he's the best human being. One of the best.
Oh my gosh,
friendly. You talked to him, and you thought you were best friends with him since second grade.
Yeah,
and
I liked his comment about the guitar that he signed for me.
Yeah,
he's like, I'm probably the only one who can play this. Schwarbaum.
There you go.
3-run homer. Yep. There you go. The only one you can count. No, I'm sorry. It's not the only one you can count. He said, I'm probably the only one that can play this thing. And you give me the smallest spot to sign. He was good. He really was. It was enjoyable to hear all of his comments with people and, just loving the fans to death. So,
absolutely.
We've been spoiled. We've been spoiled at the store with a lot of these guys, even Slay. You know what I mean? Slay Slay was great. Sorry to see him off to Pittsburgh, but hopefully we get that rematch somewhere along the line. Steelers, Eagles.
Yep.
Wouldn't that be special?
That would be.
But so, it's this whole Super Bowl thing has just lit a fire under the whole city. what we expect out of the Phillies. Not so much out of the Flyers, who are in a rebuild, and we have no idea what the Sixers are doing. We don't even know if they're showing up for next season. So
no,
we're not going to waste a whole lot of time talking about them. So it's it's interesting to see Howie, back to the Eagles for a minute. 10 picks in the first 5 were defense, all defense.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. We probably kind of thought that was the direction he was going to go.
Mm-hmm.
Because like you said, we've got the offense pretty much in check. We're paying these guys a lot of money, so they're not getting put on the bench. They got to play.
Right, exactly.
You don't have a lot of room, to bring in young offensive guys. I was kind of shocked that he didn't try to go get a tight end. But maybe they're pretty confident. Who do they have, as a backup to the backup at tight end? Is there somebody?
Yeah, they picked up 2 guys that are just kind of, journeyman
guys. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you got Calcaterra and the 2 guys that they picked up that are body guys. So
you're right. Defense does win championships, and I think that was proven, in both the Super Bowls that the Eagles won.
Yeah.
With guys like Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham, those kinds of guys. There were lifers here in Philly.
Exactly.
That only comes around, every so often. So pretty stoked about that.
Exactly.
EJ Jenkins, is that a third string tight end? Is that what Big O's trying to tell me here? I don't know the name, so but
unless you were thinking about Malcolm Jenkins, but you were saying you know what the Sixers are doing, but we do know what's going on this weekend, and we got our guest is here and is ready to tell us about the weekend. So
all right, let's bring him on. Bring him on.
Here we go.
Hope he brought some food.
Yeah, we're a little hungry.
We're hungry.
What's up, guys?
What's up, man? Good to see you.
It's been way too long.
Good to see you.
Let me tell you, if I make it through the weekend, I have a whole new respect for what Carl does.
Stop. It's, what? Hard work won't hurt anybody. You know what I mean?
If you say so.
I was stressed out right up to Saturday. So, in the pouring friggin' rain, I had my head examined. I got 2 Super Bowl champions coming in, and the Mother Nature didn't want to give me a break. So,
hey, I remember quite a few times waiting out in that line in the pouring rain. So
it must be like an offensive lineman thing, because Jason Kelsey was here when it was pouring rain, and Mailata was here and it was raining. So
see, I think it was when Kelsey was there is when it was raining when I was there.
Yeah. But we weathered the storm.
Oh,
the fans, the customers, they were great. We threw a couple of tents up outside and gave them as much accommodation as we could. So it worked out well, just like this weekend will. Give us. I don't want to spew. Yeah, I know. But give us the lowdown on the show. Where it's at and all that good stuff.
So what's going on is Joel Goodhart, who was the promoter of the Tri-State Wrestling Alliance from the late 80s, early 90s, who went out of business in early 92. And he walked away from the wrestling business and literally went into hiding for 18 years.
Wow.
And he came out of hiding about 15 years ago. And me and my big mouth, I was on a wrestling podcast being interviewed. And usually I'm sitting there with a glass of wine, maybe 3 or 4 glasses of wine. And they started asking me about Joel Goodhart and the Tri-State Wrestling Alliance and my history with them. And I just ended up going off on a tirade how, respect needs to be acknowledged and paid to guys like Joel and his top 4 stars from the Tri-State Wrestling Alliance, Johnny Hotbody, Tony Stetson, DC Drake, and the late, great Larry Winters. And I said, we need to get a banner raised at the 2300 Arena, the old ECW Arena. Well, next thing I know, it starts spiraling, and people are starting to catch wind of this. And then I was like, all right, well, let's get a petition going. So I started a petition. And then it was right after I had my heart attacks last April, Joel calls me up. He's like, let's do something. But he was like, let's restart Tri-State Wrestling Alliance. And I'm like, no, not at all. No, we're not doing that. And then after a couple of weeks, he finally said, let's do this. Let's do one show. We call it One and Done, do a whole big reunion thing, and let's try to get this whole thing going and get the banner raised. I'm like, all right, well, now you're like interesting me in this thing. He said, but we're not going to do it until 1 year out. So May of next year, I'm in. Because we haven't done this. I haven't promoted wrestling shows in 25 years. He hasn't promoted wrestling shows in 35 years. And we don't have a roster and everything. And so it's taken us a year to put this thing together. So what we're doing is from noon to 3:30, we're having WrestleCon. So there's about 40 to 50 wrestlers going to be there doing appearances, including Ric Flair, a lot of the old ECW guys, all the original TWA guys that are still alive are going to be there. The guys on the banner are going to be there. A lot of the classic NWA guys, the Rock and Roll Express, Wildfire Tommy Rich, WWE Hall of Famers, Medusa, who was at Carl's a few months back. Tony
just
Atlas.
spoke to her last night, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Awesome.
She asked me, she goes, am I going to see you this weekend? And I said, well, those are my intentions.
Awesome.
Yeah.
These good people.
Yeah.
So we're doing that from noon to 3:30, and then we're going to close the doors, take a break. Doors reopen at 6. Bell time 7:30. The show's called One and Done, and it's literally I was given the blessing and the honor to be the booker for the show. So I've booked these matches, I put it all together, and I plan to give everybody a true emotional roller coaster ride of professional wrestling. I've been telling people, bring boxes of tissues, because there's going to be quite a few moments you're going to be crying. There's going to be moments you're jumping out of your seat. There's going to be moments you're hollering, screaming, probably cursing some people out, including myself possibly. But it's going to be a fun night, and we're going to pay respect to those 5 guys finally when we raise the banner. We're also doing, the scary thing is we're doing a 10-bell salute. 46 people that wrestled for Joel have passed away since Joel closed up. So we're going to pay respect to those 46 people. And there's 8 matches on the show, and it's going to be a fun night.
Very cool. Very cool. So you're going to be you're the Paul Heyman of One and Done.
I am the Paul Heyman, and Paul was one of my mentors. I got to work under him a little bit, as well as people like Joel Goodhart, Todd Gordon. So this show is taking a page out of those 3 people's booking ideas, and I think people will be very shocked, happy, and surprised. And I've been sitting on this stuff for 6 months waiting for it to happen, because I can't wait to see people's reactions. So
right. So
finally,
what has been the reaction in the wrestling world? Because there's a lot of people who live off of these independent shows and these types of fun things every weekend. What has been the reaction?
You know what? It's mixed. It's because, and Joel said this to me 6 months ago, and I was notified by a lot of fans as well as top wrestling journalists, and they've all said to me, because what happened back in 1992, Joel was 2 weeks away from promoting his biggest show at the time. And the main event was Nature Boy Buddy Rogers at 70-something years old was coming out of retirement to wrestle for the TWA Championship against Nature Boy Buddy Landell. 2 weeks before, Joel pulled the plug, closed the doors, and went into hiding. So a lot of people have been scared and nervous, and they're like, I don't believe this show's happening, and I'm not buying a ticket until the day of.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so it's been kind of mixed. There's a lot of excitement, a lot of shock. It's been a roller coaster ride, and I can say this, it's very emotional because there's also a documentary that's being done on Joel and the Tri-State Wrestling Alliance. His autobiography is officially released on Saturday. He just sent me a picture. He got 250 copies. He's got all these boxes outside his door. It's going to be an interesting, emotional day, night. It's a long time coming.
Yeah.
And we got together back in October at Joel's house, a bunch of us, and some of us, it was the first time in 30 years we've seen each other.
Okay.
And it started out with Joel saying what he wanted to say to everybody, and he broke down crying, which really, I think, busted up the room, because then one by one we all took a turn and talked, and the whole room's crying. So Saturday, it's going to be
you stinking wrestlers are soft.
I'm telling you. I was thinking
Jesus.
to myself earlier, I'm gonna be doing the banner presentation Saturday night. I'm gonna get in that ring and start crying. I'm thinking to myself, I was in that ring and whacked dozens of times with chairs over the head and never cried. And now I'm gonna get in a ring and I'm hanging a banner and I'm crying.
I watched one of your replays today. I was showing Sue. I'm like, there he is. She goes, that ain't the same guy. I'm like, yeah, it is.
Yeah. A whole lot of hair. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. What was the other name? Easy Rider?
Easy Rider, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's funny, yeah. Scary. I look back at those pictures and I'm like, whew. Literally like looking into a time machine.
Yeah. What, well, you said you're doing the 10 bell salute, but from a personal level, because I know you talk a lot about it and you've had hands-on with a lot of people in the wrestling world. What are you looking forward to most about Saturday night?
It being over.
You're honest. You're honest.
Look, Joel feels the same way. This has truly been a labor of love. I have put more time into this, literally, than my full-time job each week. It's been very, me and Joel have been best of friends this last year and bitter enemies. And we've cursed each other out dozens of times each week, and we've sat on the phone and cried to each other and talked to each other. And from day one, he's been a father figure to me. And I always looked up to him and truly loved and respected him. And even after all this, I still do. I don't know why,
of course.
but I do.
Of course.
But
well, you guys all want the same thing. You know what I mean? You want to bring this all together. You want the happy ending. You know what I mean? You want the presentation of the past wrestlers and everybody that's coming out Saturday night. And you want to put on a good show on top of it. So,
there's a new, and I've been using this now in the past couple of weeks on podcasts. There's a new term the wrestlers are using to give respect. It's called getting your flowers. So I keep saying now, I just want everybody to get their flowers Saturday night, because a lot of these guys, it's long overdue. These guys are in their mid to late 50s, 60s. Quite a few of them are walking with canes, a lot of health issues, a lot of concussion syndrome issues that, when you talk with them, you can tell. So it's time. ECW was a huge thing in the world of professional wrestling. 30 years later, it's more popular now than it was when it was going.
Gotcha.
And if it wasn't for Joel Goodhart and the Tri-State Wrestling Alliance and what these guys did, they set up that foundation, that core, and the fan base for what when Joel left and went out of business, Todd Gordon picked up the pieces, rebuilt, and then when Paul came in, it just exploded everything.
Yeah. The the old arena 2300 as it's known now. I haven't been in it, but I understand it's been restored and replenished, and it's
the bathrooms work.
That's important.
The bathrooms work. They have air conditioning now. When that thing in the mid '90s, they used to sardine 12 to 1,500 people in there, standing room only, on top of each other, and it was like 120, 130 degrees in there with no air conditioner, and the bathrooms didn't have running water.
Yeah, I was in there back in the day. I don't know what year it was, probably the early '90s. I did a show in there, and it was a glorified shithole.
Yeah, yeah. It's like the Taj Mahal now. It really is. It's the last time I was in there 7-8 years ago. I literally was just standing there, and I was like trying to like figure out like where was what, because it's so different inside now.
Right.
And they took where the front door used to be, they closed that off and moved it over.
So we got one of your fans is on, and they want to hear you explain, taking the chair shot and what that felt like, and going through that, menacing stuff that you put your body through. So maybe you could walk us through that.
It's funny because when that came up in my Facebook memories today, I showed a couple of people I worked with because they're always asking to see stuff, and I showed them, and they were like, "Was that real? That had to hurt." I said, I still remember it like it was yesterday. When I got hit with that chair shot and I went down, I remember laying on that mat saying to myself, I got to do something with my life. This is crazy.
Yeah, but you played it well. You played it well.
I didn't have a choice.
You played it.
There was no holding back. That was a.
What is your? It may be difficult for you to talk about it, but then again, I don't think it is. What do you think? I just read something today where the Hardy Boys are talking to the WWE about coming back. What is it with these older wrestlers? They think they got a little something left.
Well, okay. Prime example. When I first agreed to do this, I said to Joel, I want one last match. And he said, "Hey, asshole, you just had 5 heart attacks." No. It's what it is? It's like
it's in your blood, right?
It's in your blood, and it's just like all professional athletes. It's hard to let go, because when you let go, what do you got? I mean, look, when I was doing that, I was still living in Upper Darby at the time. I was getting recognized everywhere. People would stop me on the street asking me for autographs and stuff like that. I was delivering pizzas at the time, and I would be delivering pizzas, and people are watching ECW, and they're looking at me like, "What the hell?" And I'm at their door. So when you walk away from it, it's weird. And it's like, even this weekend, I'm going to fly in. I'm going to be signing autographs all Saturday afternoon, running the show at night, and then I got to hop back on an airplane 5 o'clock Sunday morning, and then get off the plane 8 a.m. and come right to work. It's a mental thing. It's very hard to go between those lines.
Yeah, I can see you, applauding the fact that you can't wait for it to be over.
I'll tell you, it's been amazing, but it's definitely probably one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. It's definitely the biggest thing that I've taken on. I mean, the budget, the talent, to think to myself, I got to sit down with the Rock and Roll Express, one of the greatest tag teams of all time, and talk to them about their match and what I gotta say what I want. So it's like Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes, people like that had to do that back in the 80s and 90s.
Sure.
And now I'm getting that opportunity to do it. So it's weird. And then I come back to work and deliver Mexican food on Sunday.
You got a fan, Jonathan Owens. One of your fans. Yeah.
Love Jonathan. Great guy. I've known him for 30 plus years.
Nice.
He used to be front row all the time.
Thanks for joining the show. Bay's been on quite a bit, and I've been trying to pull him away from what he's got going on just to talk about it. And I know deep down inside you're excited. You know what I mean? Because you want to pull this off more than anybody. In Delco, you want to pull it off for the people of Philly, the people of Delco. You know what I mean? And you've got a name in the industry still. So,
I was told by somebody just the other night, they said, look, and this is a person who's pretty well known in the industry. And he sent me a message and he said, people have stood up and taken notice of Bay Ragney the last year. He said, they know what you're doing and this is your time to get your flowers.
Yep.
So
perfect.
Nice.
Perfect. Good for you. We're happy for you. Hey, if I had flowers, I'd give you flowers.
I'll take a roast pork sandwich, please.
There you go. We can go right around the corner and get those.
That's my plan. I want a roast pork sharp provolone with some broccoli rabe, extra wet, please.
All right, watch the cholesterol.
Hey, that's going out the window this weekend. There's no good food in Nashville. These people down here, they don't know food.
No, but they know how to party.
I'll tell you what, it's September will be 6 years. I have not stopped drinking in 6 years every day. Everywhere you go, people are handing you drinks.
During this year journey that you've done, what memories that you may have come across that you may have forgotten about or that were special to you, like either personal or from like other people that you've dealt with?
You know what? It's been all personal because it's been a lot of friendships have been rekindled, and a lot. It's been. Back 30 years ago, I was a kid. I was in my early mid-20s, and these were people I looked up to. And now that they're in their 60s and 70s, and I'm in my mid-50s, but now we're like all adults, and they look at me differently. I'm not some snot-nosed kid in a wrestling school now. So, and it's been a lot of mutual respect, and just a lot. There was the friendships there, but now there are friendships.
Nice.
Yeah.
Getting away from the wrestling world for a minute. Nashville's been still good for you?
Yeah, doing great. It's funny because during the Eagles run, I started at work wearing my Eagles hat. I haven't taken it off since. But when I do catering, I deliver catering and do catering setups and all for offices and stuff. I can't tell you how many people from Philly and Delco are down here. A couple weeks ago, it was hysterical. I do a setup, and I'm waiting for the elevator to come up to get me to bring me back down. And I see out of the corner of my eyes, I see this. And then I look at this girl, receptionist. She starts standing on her desk, and she's going like this. I'm like, what the hell is going on? And then she's like, and I'm like, oh, I'm like, are you from Philly? She's like, yeah.
Nice. Very nice. Very cool. Yeah, it seems, I think the whole world knows that Nashville's a hot spot. You know what I mean? And,
it's crazy because they're building the new Titan Stadium now. And it's literally like 20 feet away from the, Nissan Stadium. I mean, they're right next door. They're building it right on top of each other.
Wow.
And it was like 1 week I went by, I was like, oh, okay. And then the next week I'm like, oh shit. Like it's up there now.
Yeah. So you're pretty busy for flying in Friday, did you say? Or
So I fly in tomorrow morning.
okay.
Actually, I'm going to try to swing over and see. I'll be in Havertown, staying there in Havertown Thursday night.
Okay.
And then I got to head to the arena Friday, and I'll be there all day Friday setting up, and then back 8 a.m. Saturday morning, and doors open.
Maybe we can go have a beer tomorrow night if you can fit me in. So
yeah, that'd be nice. Okay.
If you're in Havertown and you got nothing better to do, so
I know I'm going out to dinner. My nieces are taking me out to dinner for my birthday, but after that, that's a good possibility.
Awesome. Good. Hey, it was great having you on.
Love you guys. I can never thank you guys enough for everything.
Hey, I appreciate you making time. You know what I mean? You're gonna do well.
Yeah.
Safe travels. Have fun. You know what I mean? Don't let all the BS get in your way. So,
where were you the last 9 months? You could have said that to me.
Well, it
right here every Wednesday night.
It was there. You know it. You know it. It's just, it's stressful. Anytime you take on something like this, there's always stress involved. You know what I mean?
Especially when it's near and dear to your heart too. For doing it, you want it to go off right.
Absolutely.
Again, I appreciate it. Hopefully you'll see me. Well, I hope to see you tomorrow sometime. That would be awesome. If not, I'm going to try to find my way in there Saturday.
Awesome.
To hang out and see what the old time wrestlers got going on, because some of them still got game, man. Some of them can still bring the BS.
They're bringing it. Some of them are pushing 70 or in their early 70s, and they're ready to go. It's crazy.
Yeah,
they might be more ready to go than me.
All right. Well, rest up and safe travels back to your hometown.
Absolutely. Take care, guys.
All right, brother. Go. Be well.
Thank you.
Yep.
Careful of them chairs.
No more chairs.
What a great dude.
Yes.
What a great dude. He born and raised Delco. Him and Mario go way back.
Yes.
In the music, world, we'll call it. But good guy, just a fun guy. He really is. He's a fun guy. And, he's in a, I'm not going to say he's in over his head. He's not in over his head. It's just that he's taken on a huge chunk of responsibility and you got to make this all come together. So, he's been talking about it for a while. So, good luck to him. Good luck to everybody involved. One and done. Tickets are still available at the old 2300 Arena. I'm trying to think what's the the steak and pork place right around the corner. Tony Luke's. Tony Luke's is right there. I can remember parking there underneath. I guess it's underneath the bridge, 95, whatever, to go to those wrestling events back in the day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, it was where all the homeless people lived. I mean, it was ugly. It was, I think they've tried to clean it up quite a bit. But like Bay was saying, they've redid the whole arena. There's been other events there.
Mm-hmm.
So, good for him. Good for everybody involved. I hope everybody has a successful night and nobody gets beat up too bad.
Right. Oh, yeah.
With that being said, John, closing comments. I know we're pretty quiet at the store at the moment because we cleaned up everything from this past Saturday, and what a weekend we had on Saturday.
Yes.
Just to let everybody know verbally, everything's either ready for pickup or been mailed back. So we're in good shape there. We're waiting for a couple another announcements to be certified and we can get those announced. But back to May 14th at Buffalo Wild Wings. That's going to be our main event. That's probably going to be our biggest event that we've taken on as this Fan's View.
Right.
Celebrates our 300th show. We've been doing this for a few years now, and it's never been more than, I don't know. Have we had 3 guests at one time? I think 2.
Two's probably been the most.
I think 2. So this is going to really be special.
Well, 2.5. Well, Dickie's never a half, but I think Dickie came in with.
Dickie just shows up just for the raffle prizes.
He made 3 guests.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
I don't even know if we can consider him a guest anymore.
He's just a good friend.
Yes.
And friends like that are they're honorable, and it's a tribute to have them. So
absolutely.
We're really looking forward to it. I know, we're still putting pieces together as far as our guest list.
Yep.
So that's May 14th. I know Lauren's been working her ass off with Humane Pennsylvania. She's got her walk this Saturday. So that's their big event for the year. So we're wishing her all the luck in the world with that. Wait a sec. Do I have my trusty flyer? I don't think I do. Yeah, I do. The Empire Bites Back. So there it is. There it is. Carl's Canine is our group. So we're heavily involved and invested in everything that Humane Pennsylvania does and what she does. Families stick together. So
absolutely.
We're wishing her huge success. She's got a lot of responsibility, but if anybody can do it, she can. So good luck to her on Saturday. Saturday's a busy day.
Yes.
So Saturday's a very busy day, but everybody's going to be going in all different directions, and we just wish everybody the best. So, all right, Johnny, you got anything to close with?
No, just keep an eye out for all the updates, and things are going to be special that May 14th day. So in 2 weeks, and still can't believe it's already May tomorrow.
Tomorrow's May 1st. Where the hell did April go?
We got 4.5 hours left of April.
Wow, where did April go?
Exactly, it's crazy.
We just jumped right into summer with 80-degree weather. I'm ready to put the air on.
Me too.
This is crazy. This is crazy.
Sure.
Crazy. But good things. Good things happen to good people, and as long as you stay true to your word and do what you say you're going to do, people will respond and respect you. So
absolutely.
So
that's for sure.
With all that being said, we can close it out. Thank you, Bay. Thank you very much. I know him as Bay, but I love him as Chubby Dudley. I just, I can't get it out of my head. But does a great job, and you can follow him on Facebook and all his podcasts, and he loves talking shit. So
exactly,
just follow him and go along for the ride. So,
Ronnie,
you have a good day off tomorrow. I'll try and hold things down. No guarantees. So
that's all right. We're all good.
With that being said, have a great rest of your night, and go Phils.
Go Phils. I got the store Carl proofed, so we're good.
All right, you said it.